What is going on, everybody? Back with a quick little video. We're going to be talking about the top 5 things on Suzuki today, baby. Alright, we're going to be talking about the most commonly replaced Gixxer parts, man. The most commonly replaced Gixxer parts on this 1000. And you might be kind of surprised, maybe you won't be, I don't know. But we're going to go with the first thing that you kind of need to really be aware of when you're grabbing this bike. Is just know that you might run into some things later on down the line. This is just something that is most common with the Gixxer 1000s. First up is replacing your fuel pump, man. You might end up in a situation where you might have to replace your fuel pump. It's very, well, I would say it is common, but it just kind of randomly happens to different people at different times. So, just make sure that you are paying attention to your vehicle, man. If you're having any type of performance losses or acceleration issues, things of that nature where it kind of feels like the fuel may be cutting out on you, I would simply suggest that you look at your fuel pump. It might be going out. It might need to be replaced. Next up is the wiring harness. You can experience issues with the wiring harness from the factory sometimes. It has happened. It really has happened. It is it's actually somewhat of a common kind of thing, something with Suzuki. I haven't had any issues with the wiring harness, thank God, but I also don't live in a heavily wooded area or things like that, like in the country where some people live, and they have a really hard time with critters and vermin and stuff like that getting in their bikes or their cars and chewing up wires. So make sure you keep an eye on that, and you'll be all right. The third thing, let's talk about the third thing that you might have an issue with at some point, and that is going to be with your throttle position sensor. This can be kind of a pain in the ass for a lot of people. It does happen. It's a common thing. It's not just with Suzuki. Sometimes it happens, But when you're having an issue, you got to make sure that you find these things ASAP, or you're going to be going crazy throwing money at your bike trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with it. So always remember that. Always remember that your throttle position sensor could malfunction. Just keep an eye on it. Let's see. The most common things, I think, with Suzuki or with any bike, especially depending on how you ride. We're going to talk about the fork seals and how they very commonly leak on these Gixxers. And like I said, I think riding style has a lot to do with it, but you might end up having to replace your fork seals. You might get leaks. It's very common, especially on the 750s. They're very common. With your fork seals leaking, right? So you just need to be careful with that. Also, if you do wheelies, if you're always doing wheelies and stuff like that, you are definitely going to have to replace your fork seals at some point. Definitely keep an eye on it if you are doing wheelies, because these things will leak. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to a full tear down, but sometimes you may be able to get a little tool in there and kind of make sure it is resealed. But very common, right? Very common. The last thing is the clutch. The clutch is prone to wear. Again, with certain bikes, clutches may be a little finicky. It just depends. But with Suzuki, I would say that it is common over time that you might have to replace the clutch. It's kind of hard to say because Suzuki is really built like a freaking, it's built pretty damn tough. So, I mean, this bike, you can ride it for thousands of miles. You probably will never have to really worry about your clutch, but it does happen. So make sure that you are aware of that. And yeah, make sure you're aware of that, guys. Other than that, man, that is probably the top 5 common things that you can expect to possibly go wrong on your Gixxer 1000. Let me know how you guys feel about it. If you've had some of these issues before, if you haven't, let me know. I'm down to listen. I really want to know too. Again, fork seals are probably going to be your top thing that you have to replace on this bike. That, and then the throttle position sensor might mess up. So keep an eye on that. Anyways, catch you guys in the next video. Peace.